Welcome back. Well, the New York Times finally confirms that Hunter Biden's abandoned laptop is real, authentic. The stunning admission and about face comes after the mainstream media and big tech blocked stories about this laptop, even smearing reports as Russian disinformation. When 50 intelligence officials signed a letter that said that the laptop and Hunter Biden's emails was part of a disinformation campaign. I called then sitting director of national intelligence, John Ratcliffe, to tell us whether or not the laptop and the emails were real. Here he is on this program back in October 2020.
This is not part of some Russian disinformation campaign. The intelligence community has not been involved with Hunter Biden's laptop. Hunter Biden is a U.S. person, and he would be subject to any investigation regarding fraud or corruption would be rightfully the jurisdiction of the FBI. So the FBI has had possession of this.
Joe Concha, Christian Whiton with me this morning. Joe Concha, your thoughts. At the time, we all knew that it was real. We all knew that the New York Post's breaking this story was one of the most important stories. And in retrospect, it probably was the most important story around the election.
Absolutely. And this is where we see journalism morphing into activism, Maria. And it is an absolute hoop, by the way, to go back and look at the way this story was covered at the time. Some outlets ignored it while others were outright patently pious in rejecting it, all in the name of journalism. Here's NPR's managing editor, for example, quote, "We don't want to waste our time on stories that aren't really stories, and we don't want to waste our listeners and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. And quite frankly, that's where we ended up. This was a politically driven event, and we decided to treat it that way." By the way, you mentioned those intelligence officials, former ones, 50 of them, signing a letter saying that this was absolutely Russian disinformation. John Brennan, the former CIA director, now with NBC News, he signed off on that letter as well, for example. Are there any apologies coming? Of course not. Any corrections coming? No shot, Maria. No remorse here whatsoever, because ultimately, Joe Biden got into the White House, and to report on it now, well, there really aren't too many consequences now, are there?
Yeah, and you know, you look at all those political hacks on CNN and on MSNBC that refuse to report the news of influence peddling, a serious story, Christian. You even had people like, Leslie Stahl, saying we can't verify it. Even Chris Wallace, during the debate, I think, cut off President Trump to say, no, we can't go there. We're not going to talk about that. We have to talk about the climate. Remember that one? Was it Chris Wallace who cut off President Trump when Trump tried to bring this up at the debate?
Right, such a magnificent arbiter of truth, Chris Wallace was. And you have, the corporate media, and I think it's important here to keep in mind, tech in particular was in the front seat of censoring this. Twitter, when I actually reposted some of the content from the New York Post, censored my account, wouldn't unlock it until I deleted it. It was the beginning of the end for me with Twitter. When they eventually censored Donald Trump, I said, okay, that's it, deleted my account. Incidentally, that is one of the best things you can do. I think that's better than like quitting smoking for your health, at least for your mental health. But Silicon Valley and corporate media are terrible at censorship. They censor stuff that's actually true. We saw this throughout coronavirus, too, with all of this, any discussion about vaccine effectiveness or mask effectiveness. They just get it wrong. The American people should be able to decide what they consume media-wise, not big tech.
Of course, Joe.
Just to confirm, you were speculating before correctly. Chris Wallace was the one who shut down then President Trump during that debate. Wallace to Trump said that he has to be a little careful when he brings up the Hunter Biden story. So, yes, President Trump in front of 90 million people wasn't able to bring up the Hunter Biden laptop story because the moderator deemed that it wasn't worthy of conversation at the time.
Yes, I remember.